You see a 20-something tech founder, sell an app for $1 billion, or someone who just happens to buy a patch of dirt right before a major highway gets approved. And the immediate assumption is that acquiring massive wealth is, well, it's entirely random.
Oh, absolutely. To the outside observer, it looks exactly like chaos.
Right. We treat prosperity like lightning. It feels chaotic, completely unpredictable, and largely dependent on this cosmic lottery of just being in the right place at the exact right time.
Yeah, the modern perspective heavily leans on this idea of sheer arbitrary luck dictating, who gets the resources and who doesn't.
But stepping into the world of Vedic astrology completely flips that entire perspective on its head. Suddenly, that chaos is replaced by a highly structured blueprint.
It really is. It's a completely different paradigm. Exactly.
The ancient texts we're analyzing today, they don't view wealth as a lottery at all. They map out human prosperity with, honestly, mathematical precision. It is this architectural approach to destiny, detailing a very specific geometry to how resources actually flow into our lives.
And that geometry is exactly what we are decoding today.
Right.
We're looking at the specific planetary architecture in a birth chart that dictates financial capacity. I mean, we are analyzing the angles, the specific houses, and the interacting planets that generate actual liquid resources.
Which brings us to our mission today. Welcome back to part 2 of our special 6-part deep dive into the key astrological combinations, the yogas of Vedic astrology. Today, we are unpacking the secrets of Dhan Yogas.
Right, the wealth combinations.
Yeah, these are the specific planetary combinations that, according to the ancient sources, govern wealth, financial security, and the accumulation of assets.
And it is so crucial to set the baseline here right off the bat, because anyone hoping to find a Dhan Yoga in their chart needs to understand that this is a highly analytical process.
Not just a magic trick.
No, not at all. Before we can even understand how wealth is formed astrologically, we have to define what wealth actually is in this ancient context. And the sources do this quite effectively by drawing a hard line between a Dhan Yoga and something it gets, conflated with constantly, which is Raj Yoga.
Right, and if you follow astrology even casually, Raj Yoga is usually the term you hear thrown around the most. It translates to royal union or royal combination, I think.
Exactly, royal combination.
And the common misconception is that having a Raj Yoga just means you are guaranteed to be fabulously wealthy.
Yeah, and the texts differentiate them very, very clearly. A Raj Yoga is formed by the combination of the Kendras, so the quadrants, representing the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses, and the trichonas, or trines, which are the 1st, 5th, and 9th houses.
Okay, so quadrants and trines.
Right. In the source material, the quadrants are called the Vishnu stanas, representing the deity who protects and maintains. And the trines are the Lakshmi stanas, representing the goddess who bestows prosperity.
Yes.
So when the lords of these houses connect, they create a combination for elevation.
But, and this is the key point, elevation does not automatically mean cash.
Right.
A Raj Yoga gives power, status, royal dignity, and authority in a career. It puts you in charge. It makes you a dignitary, a respected administrator, or, a community leader. But Dhan Yoga specifically governs the financial capacity.
Yes, the accumulation of liquid resources and overall monetary prosperity. The divergence between the two is really fascinating.
How so?
Well, you can have a brilliant Raj Yoga and be a highly respected federal judge, or a beloved university professor, or even a prominent social worker. These are roles with immense dignity, public respect, and authority. I mean, they wear the crown, so to speak.
But they might be living on a very fixed income or even struggling with debt behind the scenes.
Exactly. They have the status, but not necessarily the massive bank account.
So let me make sure I have this straight. A Raj Yoga makes you the CEO with the fancy title, the corner office, and everyone treating you with absolute deference. But a Dhan Yoga dictates whether that CEO actually has a massive personal bank account or if they're just like a highly respected employee on a standard payroll.
That's a perfect analogy. And conversely, you could have a really powerful Dhan Yoga and be a quiet, behind-the-scenes scrapyard owner. Zero public fame, no fancy title, no prestige at all, but you have absolute millions in liquid assets.
Wow. Okay, so one provides the crown, the other provides the gold.
Precisely. The crown versus the gold.
And since our focus with Dhan Yogas is strictly on the gold, the next logical step is to map out exactly where this money lives in the astrological chart.
Right, because the architecture of wealth relies on 5 primary houses. We're looking at the 2nd, the 11th, the 5th, the 9th, and fundamentally the 1st house.
Okay, let's isolate the 2nd and the 11th houses first, just because these seem to be the most direct indicators of actual money when you read the texts.
Yeah, they are the literal wealth houses.
So the 2nd house is known as the house of kutumba, or family. But in a financial reading, it represents accumulated wealth. This is the savings account, the assets you actually hold on to, family inheritances, and just your overall retained resources.
Yes, the retained resources. And then you contrast that with the 11th house, which is all about gains.
The gains, right.
It governs liquid cash flow, your various active income streams, business profits, and ultimately the fulfillment of your material desires. So if the 2nd house represents the wealth you've actually managed to keep, the 11th house represents the wealth actively making its way to you.
Okay, a good way to visualize this for everyone listening is to think of the 11th house as the income pipeline. It is the river flowing in, bringing the water.
I like that, yeah.
And the 2nd house is the bank vault, or the reservoir, where that water actually pools up, gets stored, and is kept safe for the future. Because you could have a massive pipeline, but if your reservoir has a leak, I mean, you keep nothing.
Exactly. It's a critical distinction. But, you know, a pipeline and a reservoir do not exist in a vacuum. They require the right terrain to function at all, which brings us to the 5th and 9th houses.
The Lakshmi Sthanas.
Right, the houses of the goddess of wealth.
And this is where I actually want to push back a little on the sources, or at least dig a bit deeper into the why.
Okay, sure.
Because the text described the 5th and 9th houses as spiritual trines. They represent past life merit, dharma, and spiritual inclination. So how does ancient spiritual merit translate to cold, hard cash in a modern financial portfolio? Like, why are these spiritual houses strictly necessary for a Dhan Yoga?
Well, it requires looking at wealth through the lens of Vedic philosophy, right? Which is deeply intertwined with karma, the law of cause and effect across lifetimes.
Right.
So the 5th house governs intelligence and speculative gains, like investments or stock trading. But fundamentally, it represents the spiritual merit you've accrued from past actions.
But how does that play out in a boardroom?
In a practical sense, this past merit manifests as intuition. When you have a strong 5th house, your subconscious mind is just naturally drawn to the right investments. You instinctively know when to buy and when to sell. It looks like absolute financial genius to everyone else, but the text views it as a karmic dividend paying out as good judgment.
Oh, wow. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It sort of takes the magic out of it and frames it as a psychological advantage that you've earned over time.
Exactly, it's earned advantage.
And what about the 9th house?
So the 9th house represents fortune, luck, and the opening of doors. It is where you find the grace that allows wealth to manifest easily.
So less friction.
Exactly. If the 5th house gives you the intuition to make the right choice, the 9th house represents the serendipity of, say, meeting the right mentor, or being born into a supportive environment, or having your business proposal land on the right desk at the exact right moment. The spiritual merit essentially lubricates those financial pipelines.
So the 5th and 9th houses are basically the karmic permissions that allow the wealth to actually reach you without constant brutal friction.
That's a great way to put it, yes, permissions.
But all of this, the vault, the pipeline, the luck, it's all entirely dependent on the 1st house, right? The Lagna.
Fundamentally, the Lagna is the house of the self. It's your physical body, your vitality, your health, and your overarching capacity to interact with the world. The texts are completely uncompromising on this point.
Meaning you have to have a strong 1st house.
Yes. You must have a strong 1st house to enjoy any of the wealth promised in the rest of the chart.
Bringing it back to our reservoir analogy, if the 11th house is the water flowing in, and the 2nd house is where it pools up, the 1st house is basically the structural integrity of the dam holding it all together.
Exactly.
If the dam is crumbling due to poor health, or lack of focus, or physical inability, it really doesn't matter how much water the pipeline brings in, it will all just wash away.
Yeah, the physical vessel has to be strong enough to hold the prosperity. The container must be secure.
Okay, so a true Dhan Yoga is formed when the planetary lords of these specific wealth houses, so the 1st, 2nd, 5th, 9th, and 11th, when they form connections with one another.
Right.
Let's explore how they actually wire this circuit together, because the sources detail this thing called the pass system. Position, aspect, and conjunction.
Right, the pass system. This is the actual mechanism of interaction. So position means the lord of one wealth house is physically sitting in another. For example, the lord of your second house of savings is actually sitting in your 11th house of gains.
Making a direct link.
Exactly. Then you have aspect, which means the planets are casting a glance at each other across the chart, so they're influencing each other from a distance. And finally, conjunction means two or more of these wealth lords are occupying the exact same house together.
So whenever these specific lords connect through the past system, they close a circuit, allowing prosperity to flow.
Yes, they flip the switch on the circuit.
But it isn't just about the houses involved, is it? The inherent nature of the actual planets making these connections adds immense flavor to how the wealth is generated.
Oh, absolutely. The planets give the wealth its specific character.
Right. And to understand this, we have to look at what astrologers call benefic and malefic planets. In simple terms, benefics are the astrologically positive, resource-providing planets, while malefics are the more challenging, obstacle-creating planets. And when it comes to massive wealth, the texts heavily emphasize two major benefics, which are Jupiter and Venus.
Right, Jupiter and Venus are the heavy hitters here. Jupiter is considered the most auspicious planet in this entire system.
The great benefic.
Yes. Philosophically, it represents divine knowledge and expansion. But in a strictly material Dhan Yoga context, Jupiter is the great multiplier. It represents banking, high finance, massive accumulation, and just broad economic vision.
So it just makes everything bigger.
Yes. Wherever Jupiter sits and connects with wealth houses, it expands the financial capacity exponentially.
Okay, but if Jupiter is the one building the massive corporate bank account and handling the high finance, how does that translate to the actual enjoyment of the money? That is where Venus comes in, right?
Exactly. Venus represents the tangible, physical enjoyment of wealth. While Jupiter is the balance sheet, Venus is the luxury car. It's the fine art, the sophisticated culture, and family prosperity.
The fun stuff.
Yeah, Venus governs aesthetics and comforts. So a Dhan Yoga driven heavily by Jupiter might result in someone who is a billionaire on paper, but they live a very modest, frugal life.
Like Warren Buffett or someone.
Right, but a Dhan Yoga driven by Venus ensures that the wealth is actually experienced through luxury, beautiful properties, and physical comforts.
Okay, so beyond just individual planets, the sources detail some very specific classic combinations that create wealth. And one that really stands out to me is the Chandra-Mangala Yoga.
Ah, yes, a very famous one.
This is formed when Chandra, which is the moon, and Mangal, which is Mars, combine or aspect each other. The texts classically recognize this as a highly potent wealth-producing engine.
It really is. It's a combination found in the charts of many, many highly successful business people.
And this is where I have to question the underlying logic again.
Yeah.
Because based on everything the texts say about these two planets, they seem completely incompatible.
They do seem like opposites, yeah.
Right. The moon is described as fluid, receptive, emotional. It represents the human mind and the public. But Mars is fiery, militant, aggressive, and highly administrative. How does combining emotional fluidity with militant aggression equal a fortune? I mean, it sounds like a recipe for constant conflict.
It definitely appears contradictory at first glance, but you have to analyze how those two specific energies synthesize in a practical business environment.
Okay, walk me through that.
Well, the moon represents the masses, right? The public mood and the fluid flow of resources. It gives a person deep intuition about what people want.
Okay.
And then Mars represents relentless drive, decisive action, and administrative discipline.
Ah, okay. So it is the combination of intuition and execution.
Precisely. The moon allows a person to intuitively sense where the resources are, to read the market, and to really understand public demand.
And Mars is the muscle.
Right. Mars provides the aggressive, disciplined energy to actually go out and capture those resources. Because without Mars, the moon just daydreams about wealth. It has a great idea, but does nothing.
And without the moon, Mars is just aggressively fighting for territory without knowing where the actual value lies.
Exactly. So together, they create a person who is incredibly dynamic, sensing opportunities fluidly, and then executing on them ruthlessly.
That is fascinating. Okay, another major combination highlighted in the texts is the Gajah-Kazara Yoga.
Yes, a beautiful combination.
The recipe for this one is having Jupiter and the moon either sitting together or placed in quadrants from each other, meaning they were 4, 7, or 10 houses apart. And the name itself is striking. Gajah means elephant and Kasari means lion.
It is considered one of the most auspicious combinations for continuous prosperity, respect, and wealth. The sources note that when this specific combination happens in one of the Lakshmi sthanas, like that 5th house of past merit we talked about, its power to generate massive wealth is practically unparalleled.
Let's break down the why. of the Gajah Yoga. Why does the moon and Jupiter interacting create the elephant and the lion?
Well, we established that the moon represents the human mind, consciousness, and emotional receptivity.
Right.
And Jupiter represents boundless expansion, optimism, wisdom, and absolute abundance. So when you cast the expansive, abundant light of Jupiter directly onto the human mind, you create a psychology of limitless potential.
An abundance mindset, basically.
Yeah, exactly. A person with a strong Gajah Yoga does not view the world through a lens of scarcity. They just see opportunities everywhere. Their mind is magnanimous, broad, and optimistic.
And that naturally attracts resources.
Yes, it attracts influential networks and financial growth. They carry an aura of authority and wisdom that inspires immense trust in others, which, if you think about it, is fundamentally how large-scale business operates.
It is. People invest in people they trust. And the sources actually share a really cool anecdote to illustrate this, detailing the chart of an unnamed multimillionaire. His chart featured 3 benefic, resource-providing planets, all clustered together in his 5th house.
Yeah, that chart is a textbook example of wealth architecture. In this specific individual's chart, the planetary lords of the 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 11th houses were all mutually interacting in one single place.
So the ruler of the self, the 1st, the vault, the 2nd, the past merit, the 5th, and the income pipeline, the 11th, were all forming this massive conjunction right in the 5th house of investments.
Right. It is a completely closed-loop circuit of financial gain.
It's wild. The person has the physical capacity, the karmic luck, the income stream, and the ability to save it, all just feeding into each other continuously.
And because this massive convergence happened specifically in the 5th house, it tells us exactly how that wealth materialized for him.
Right, through investments.
Exactly. It was tied directly to his intelligence, his speculative investments, and that deep well of past life spiritual merit just blossoming in his current reality. It is an unshakable financial foundation.
Which brings us to the reality check of the episode.
Yeah.
Let's say a listener pulls up their own chart right now. They look at their houses and they see that they have a flawless Gajah Yoga, or the lords of their 2nd and 11th houses are perfectly connected. They have the ultimate Dhan Yoga blueprint. Why are they still, clipping coupons? Why aren't they a billionaire today?
This is the most crucial and frankly the most frequently misunderstood aspect of Vedic astrology. A combination in a birth chart is merely a promise.
No promise.
Yes, it is potential energy, but a promise requires a trigger to become kinetic.
But first, we have to look at how that promise actually manifests, right? Because wealth doesn't always look like a pile of cash on the kitchen table. The planetary influences shape the actual form the wealth takes.
Correct. The manifestation is entirely dependent on the planets dominating the Dhan Yoga.
So, like we said earlier, if Venus is the primary driver,
then the wealth will likely solidify into luxury properties, fine art collections, high-end vehicles, and just a highly cultured lifestyle. The net worth is massive, but it is tied up in aesthetics and physical assets.
And what if Mars is the planet driving the Dhan Yoga?
Mars builds empires of iron and earth.
Iron and earth. I like that.
Yeah, if Mars is dictating the wealth, it often manifests as large-scale industrial factories, heavy machinery, massive real estate development portfolios, or agricultural land.
So they might be incredibly wealthy on paper, but their money is entirely illiquid. It's operating as a fleet of bulldozers or construction cranes.
Exactly. Whereas if Jupiter is the dominant force, it usually brings highly liquid cash, steady and massive income streams, and huge success in banking or finance. Jupiter accumulates actual currency.
Okay, so the form of the wealth varies wildly. But to address the core question, why the person isn't rich right now despite having the yoga in their chart, we have to talk about the dasha system. This is the timeline.
The Vimshatari dasha system is literally the timeline of your life. It divides a human lifespan, conceptually 120 years, into specific planetary periods.
Okay.
So each planet takes a turn ruling a specific chapter of your life, and the sources are extremely strict regarding this mechanic. If a fruitful dasha, meaning the planetary period of the specific planets involved in your Dhan Yoga, does not arrive at a usable time in your life, the promise in the horoscope remains an empty promise only.
An empty promise only.
Yeah.
That is a brutal reality check.
It is, yeah.
It completely curtails any sense of fatalistic entitlement. You can't just look at a chart, see a wealth yoga, and sit on the couch waiting for a check to arrive in the mail.
Not at all. The texts include that warning specifically because so many people see excellent combinations in their charts and complain that nothing extraordinary has happened to them.
Right.
The answer is almost always found in the dasha sequence. You must be actively running the appropriate planetary period for those financial combinations to actually switch on.
It is essentially like holding a winning lottery ticket.
Hmm.
You have all 6 matching numbers, that is your Dhan Yoga.
Right.
But the dasha period is the actual date printed on the ticket when it becomes valid to cash in. If the date hasn't arrived yet, you can't redeem the ticket.
That's the perfect way to explain it.
So if your massive wealth combination is activated by Jupiter, but your Jupiter dasha chapter doesn't officially begin until you are, say, 85 years old, then that major financial windfall is going to happen at the very end of your life.
Yes. And conversely, if that Jupiter chapter hits when you are 25, you become a young millionaire. The astrology dictates what is promised, but the dasha timeline dictates when it is delivered. And it is a highly dynamic timeline, too. The sources point out that you don't only look at the Mahadasha, which is the main chapter, you also have to track the Antardasha.
The subperiods.
Right, the subperiods or smaller paragraphs within that main chapter. You might be in a generally difficult main period, perhaps ruled by a challenging planet. But if a subperiod of a planet involved in your Dhan Yoga briefly takes the reins for a year or two,
you can experience a sudden, significant financial gain during that smaller window.
Exactly. It's a window of opportunity.
It adds such a profound layer of nuance to all this. Synthesizing all of this, the core philosophy we are extracting from these ancient texts is that prosperity is not an accident of the universe.
No, not at all.
It is a highly structured combination of your physical capacity to hold wealth in the first house, the karmic fortune and intuition you carry in the 5th and 9th houses, the blending of actionable planetary energies like the moon and Mars, and above all, the precise timing of the dasha system to actually activate the circuit.
You must have the vault, you must have the pipeline, and you must reach the specific moment in time when the water is finally turned on. It is a beautifully intricate mechanism that completely removes the illusion of random chaos.
It really is an architectural blueprint. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, drawn from a really subtle detail in the sources.
Okay.
We established that the second house is your primary bank vault. It holds your accumulated wealth, your family assets, and your savings. But the texts explicitly state that the second house also rules your speech.
Yes, the House of Kutumba governs the physical accumulation of resources and the literal words that leave your mouth.
Which is just so fascinating to me. If your bank vault and your words share the exact same astrological real estate, it raises a really profound question about how we operate daily.
Oh, absolutely.
What kind of currency are you spending every day with the things you say? If speech and wealth are cosmically linked in that second house, are your words building up your assets, or are they bankrupting your relationships and opportunities? The energy we save and spend isn't just financial.
That is a very profound psychological application of the astrological framework. It's all connected.
Definitely something to ponder until we meet again. Thank you for joining us for part 2 of this series. Join us next time for our 3rd installment, where we will dive into Parivartan Yogas, which is the fascinating effects that occur when planets decide to do a cosmic body swap and completely exchange houses. You really won't want to miss it.